Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. So, pretty crazy story that happened just a couple days ago that has led to President Trump threatening to federalize Washington, D.C. in order to clean it up, to clean up the streets. I mean, as most liberal cities go, most cities that are liberally run, liberal policies, it's really gone into the gutter. And President Trump has a claim that he's posted on Truth Social that I'll get to that comes after a former DOGE employee. I'm going to be as delicate as I can in the retelling of the story and give it the seriousness that it deserves, because it does deserve seriousness. But there is also a part of this story that you're just going to have to come to terms with really is not appropriate at all, and yet so appropriate, okay? Because this former DOGE employee, his name is Edward Korestein, but apparently he goes by the name Big Balls. That's his nickname. So on the streets, they call him Big Balls, apparently. And Big Balls was brutally beaten in the streets of Washington, D.C. There is, you can see, even though it's blurred. Why did we blur his face, Stephen?
I don't know.
He's not an anonymous person. I don't know why the face is blurred, but it really is not graphic. We could have showed the blood, guys. This is Edward Korestein, a.k.a. Big Balls, who was, I mean, it really, like, in all honesty, it didn't have to be this way. There was no reason for this man to get beaten other than liberal policies lead to more crime and more crappy people and crappy behavior. So President Trump posted on Truth Social. He said, if DC doesn't get its act together and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I am going to exert my powers and federalize this city, make America great again. So here's what happened. According to the police report, Big Balls and his girlfriend were approached by a group of around 10 juveniles, they said, at around 3 o'clock in the morning. And they tried, at which point these juveniles, which again, pay very close attention. These are juveniles that are committing these crimes. Okay. The juveniles are out at 3 o'clock in the morning and they try to carjack Big Balls and his girlfriend. Okay. Now, he, as a real hero does, he pushes his girlfriend into the car and he is like, get in the car. You need to stay safe. He gets her in the car. He locks the car. And then he tries to fend off close than a dozen attackers who, by the way, tried to, what I read was they tried to attack a woman who was next to him. And he actually tried to save her as well. So there was a police officer who happened to be nearby, rolled up on the scene, and the Metropolitan Police Department has arrested 2 of these attackers, apparently. The rest got away. But the point was, this guy has completely earned his name. He could have just gotten in the car along with his girlfriend and driven away, but he wanted to make sure that these juveniles didn't actually harm the woman that was next to him that was also in harm's way, because you got a bunch of delinquents out at 3 a.m. causing trouble and committing crimes. Where the hell are their parents? I think we probably know the answer to that. So he's a hero, obviously. Lived up to his nickname. But, you know, you think about it, like, how did we get here? How did we get to this? Why did this happen? Well, back in 2023, Washington, D.C. saw a 39% increase in violent crime. This is one of the largest increases in the country. This is not, as it turns out, this is not a record that you want to have. But they recorded more murders than it has since 1997. So D.C. They were like, hold my beer. You want to see murders? We will show you murders. It was 274 homicides over the course of a year. And the average murder rate in the United States in 2023 was 6.61 per 100,000 people. Just to give you a frame of reference point. DC had a population of around 700,000 people in 2023. So I'm not really like a math person. You guys who watch the show daily, you know that. Not what I would call a mathematician. But if you do the math on that, according to the national average, the murder total should have been around 46. But again, they had 274. It's not a record that you want to have. In fact, the record, hey, Muriel Bowser, you want that number? It's like golf. You want the number to be low. That's right, isn't it, Stephen?
Yeah, I was just going to say that. Exact same thing. It's not like golf.
Golf, you want the number low in golf.
Maybe that's her problem. She's just playing the wrong sport.
No, you do want it to be like golf, right?
Yes, correct. Okay. I'm saying maybe that's what she's
playing. She doesn't understand. Football. She's like, this is basketball. We want we want that number to be high. No, ma'am. No. You want it to be as low as possible. You actually win the lower the number is. These liberals, these lefties, sometimes you have to remind them because they don't understand much. So 2024 rolls around. They had a slight decrease in homicide, but it was still well above the national average at 187 total homicides. You can see right there, which is murder for the layman. Okay. So this is not a coincidence that in DC, you're seeing the exact same thing that's happening in DC. You're seeing it happen in the streets of Los Angeles. You're seeing it happen in the streets of San Francisco. You're seeing it happen in the streets of New York. You're seeing it happen in the streets of all of these Baltimore, Chicago, all of these liberal run cities that have been run by leftists for decades. And they always promise we're going to clean up the streets. It's all of these, urban areas where they have minorities who are living there. And they always promise them we're going to, if you just keep voting for us, we are actually going to make your lives better. Well, these liberal policies never actually end up making their lives better. It, of course, continues to make their lives worse. Now, you also have Elon Musk jumping into the mix. He posted on X a few days ago, a gang of about a dozen young men tried to assault a woman in her car at night in DC. A DOGE team member saw what was happening, ran to defend her, and was severely beaten to the point of concussion. But he saved her, of course, referring to big balls. It is time to federalize DC. And now we also have the newly confirmed U.S. attorney for DC, the District of Columbia, Jeanine Pirro, who, let's face it. What needs to happen is that criminals need to be put on notice. Crime is no longer tolerated in this area. And here is Jeanine Pirro on that. Watch.
Hi, everyone. It's Judge Jeanine. In case you don't know or recognize the background, I'm at the White House. I just met with the president. We talked about crime in the nation's capital. We talked about fighting crime, and the president is very serious about making sure that as the prosecutor here, that we not only fight crime with a vengeance, but make sure that there are consequences. Make sure that we protect the victims and we make the criminals accountable. And that's the mission of the U.S. Attorney's Office in D.C., not just in district court, but in all the courts, the superior courts. Our job is to get guns off the street, drugs off the street, take care of those individuals who are threatening, carjacking other people, and make this city safe and clean again. And that's just what we're going to do. And if you don't buy into it, you're going to have to deal with us.
I have never really felt like totally safe in Washington, D.C. In fact, the last time I was there, and it's not like I'm staying in the slums, right? But you stay a couple blocks away from the White House, and it's nice areas, and it's very nice restaurants, and you stay in a nice hotel, and you think that you're safe. And then I was out walking with a friend who lives there, and there was some vagrant. Listen, I'm not trying to judge. I'm going to assume that he was homeless just by how he looked. Maybe that's a rude assumption to make, but I'm going to make it anyway. And he was just yelling, like he was screaming at everyone. I can't even remember what he was screaming, but it was something very threatening that he was just screaming at all of us on the street. And I was just like, wow, this this is alarming. This is a little bit scary. I don't really feel super safe with that going on, like right here in my face. And then, of course, a cop rolled up and I felt a little bit better. But I mean, it's really scary to be in these liberal cities that, like, hey, the police station may be around the corner, but I don't even know what kind of cops they're hiring here with all these liberal policies and all these DEI hires. So it's kind of a crapshoot if the cop that shows up is even going to help. But let's hope that they actually do crack down on crime in DC. I mean, this is our nation's capital. This should not be a place that people are afraid to go. And then you start wondering, well, Trump's talking about federalizing it. How would he do that? This is actually a very interesting place to talk about because the Home Rule Act that they have currently in order, it was only established in 1973. So it was not that long ago, but that is the act that gives DC a mayor and 13 council members. But before 1973, before this Home Rule Act, DC was actually governed by Congress and federal appointees. So it's not unheard of. This is not like how it's always been. In the course of, American history, it's actually relatively recent that we even had a mayor and 13 council members and allowed DC to operate like its own special place. So listen, if you guys, it's just like if Grandpa finds, where we find that Grandpa he's driving a little bit too erratically, you've got to take the keys away, Grandpa. Okay. It's not personal, but we just don't want anyone to get hurt. So if we've given you the keys and you've decided to, take advantage of that and you're just going to let criminals just run the streets and you're not going to do anything about it, then it's just, listen, Muriel, it's time to take the keys away. All right. So it's not unheard of, especially considering one last point on that Senators Mike Lee and Representative Andy Ogles actually introduced legislation back in February to repeal the Home Rule Act so that they could get that started. Now, as with this Congress, nothing's happening. They don't want to codify anything that President Trump is doing or talking about. So there's a whole lot of nothing that's happened on that so far, but it's not out of the question for them to go back to having federal control over the streets of DC. I would say it couldn't come a moment too soon. Liberals do not know how to govern in any way other than to completely ruin everything that they touch. It's like King Midas, except instead of everything turning to gold, everything turns to shit. That's not really what you want. Now, the gold thing didn't work out too well either. All right, I'll just admit that. Stephen, we read that book quite often to our son at bedtime. It didn't turn out great for them either. All right, Stephen, that's fine. You can just ignore me.
I didn't think you wanted me to say anything.
No, it's fine.
You made your point.
It's fine. Everyone, this is what happens at home. I just get ignored. And he gives me that face. So rude. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back with our panel. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Patriot Mobile. So listen, Patriot Mobile, I won't actually bring Stephen up because he'll just ignore me again. But Stephen and I are very good friends with the Patriot Mobile founders, Glenn and Jenny Story. They're true patriots, which I realize is in the name. So you're like, oh, duh, it's in the name. But I mean, seriously, they are at every single activist event. They are at the small ones. They are at the big ones. They are supporting conservative candidates all across the country. And they really, truly are in the fight when it comes to keeping our conservative values and, of course, promoting conservative values here in this country. And they are America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. So what they're doing is they're on the front lines fighting for our God-given rights and freedoms while also providing exceptional nationwide cell phone service. You've got access to all three of the main networks. So there's no reason not to look at this. You're not going to lose. You're not going to compromise on service or compromise on customer service or compromise on the networks or anything like that. Switching is very, very easy. You can activate in minutes from the comfort of your own home. You can keep your number. You can keep your phone. You can keep any of those things that you want. People think, oh my God, I'm going to lose my number. No, you can just port it over. Or you can upgrade it. So the point is you can keep it, you can customize it to you, however you would like it. And odds are they're going to save you money as well. So all I'm telling you to do is go to their website, patriotmobile.com/Sarah. Go see how much it's going to cost you, how much money they're going to save you to create a plan similar to what you have right now. And when you realize this is the way to go, use promo code Sarah for a free month of service. I love Patriot Mobile. You guys just support people who support you. Stop giving to Big Mobile. They hate you. Trust me, I see them at all of the trans festivals. Okay, patriotmobile.com/Sarah. Use promo code Sarah. Welcome to the show, the beautiful Breanna Morello, host of the Breanna Morello Show, along with the less beautiful, but we still love him, Jason Buttrill, chief researcher of the Glenn Beck program and foreign relations expert of Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. We have designated that title only for Jason. Are there any other titles that you'd like?
There's a lot of them, but none of them are polite. You've given them all to me.
That's true. Off air.
Yeah.
Sleeveless McGee. That is one of your, which you're not sleeveless today, but you do still. I know it's not. I know. Well, Glenn's gone. When Glenn's gone, it's a reasonable temperature. When he's here, it's 50 degrees below zero. That's what you can rely on every single time. So I want to play an announcement here from Secretary of HHS RFK Jr., who I think I was kind of waiting on whether or not this was going to come. It finally came. Here is what he had to say. Watch.
At HHS, we have a division called the Biomedical Advanced Research and Development Authority, or BARDA. BARDA drives some of our most advanced scientific research. It funds developments of vaccines, drugs, diagnostics, and other tools to fight emerging diseases and national health threats. Over the past few weeks, BARDA reviewed 22 mRNA vaccine development investments and began canceling them. Let me explain why. Most of these shots are for flu or COVID, but as the pandemic showed us, mRNA vaccines don't perform well against viruses that infect the upper respiratory tract. Here's the problem. mRNA only codes for a small part of the viral proteins, usually a single antigen. One mutation and the vaccine becomes ineffective. This dynamic drives a phenomenon called antigenic shift, meaning that the vaccine paradoxically encourages new mutations and can actually prolong pandemics as the virus constantly mutates to escape the protective effects of the vaccine. Millions of people, maybe even you or someone you know, caught the Omicron variant despite being vaccinated. That's because a single mutation can make mRNA vaccines ineffective. The same risk applies to flu. After reviewing the science and consulting top experts at NIH and FDA, HHS has determined that mRNA technology poses more risks than benefits for these respiratory viruses. That's why, after extensive review, BARDA has begun the process of terminating these 22 contracts totaling just under $500 million. To replace the troubled mRNA programs, we're prioritizing the development of safer, broader vaccine strategies, like whole virus vaccines and novel platforms that don't collapse when viruses mutate. Let me be absolutely clear. HHS supports safe, effective vaccines for every American who wants them.
We need to vote for this.
That's why we're moving beyond the limitations of mRNA.
Okay, good.
For respiratory
all right,
viruses
great.
And
I'm glad.
investing in better solutions.
Yeah. I'm glad that we're not now investing $500 million worth of taxpayer money to mRNA technology that doesn't work. But it is annoying to hear him like, okay, let me be clear before people call me an anti-vaxxer. We definitely support safe and effective vaccines. Which ones are those?
I was curious.
Please show me.
If you were disappointed on the vaccine front so far.
I mean, no, I'm actually not, because the way that I see it, I know there are a lot of people in the MAHA movement who expect things very quickly. I mean, they expected a lot on day one. They're like, we need to halt the entire vaccine program. We need to do this. We need to do that. I actually disagree, because you don't want to do something that's going to turn more people off than maybe intrigue them or spark some sort of a curiosity. And I understand that you have to do this with intention. You have to do this the right way. You can't just come in and upend the entire system. Sure. So I'm actually happy with the way that he has addressed it so far, I think that it makes sense. I think that if you weren't thinking of any sort of other optics or political ramifications or anything like that, I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, we're burning the whole thing down.
Right.
But I understand you have to play the game to a certain degree, and I think that he has played it smartly.
Right.
In my opinion.
Well, so what about the Moderna stuff? Like, I feel like I just read an article the other day that some Moderna COVID shots just got approved.
Yeah,
Not so long ago.
For use of children, I believe that was
Yes.
the one. Yeah, the high risk children. But that apparently, according to some folks, was something that he wasn't in the office physically to prove it. People were very sneaky about it behind the scenes.
It was him and one of his like chief of staff, deputy chief of staff. They were on vacation, and the people who were in charge like went ahead and carried on with that while they were out on vacation.
Yeah.
Nuts.
That's nuts, but I feel like that's probably how it always works in this industry.
For
Stupid
sure.
crap like that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the stuff with Moderna is really, that stuff really pisses me off because that was like the granddaddy of them all.
Yeah.
When the government first got into mRNA, I have the technological transfer agreement on my computer right now that shows how the government was colluding with Moderna. Not only that, but I think we've showed it on this show before. Not only that, but the bank account at the Fed where Moderna always has to pay royalties for every single COVID shot they sell to the federal government. If that's not the most batshit crazy collusion, I mean, but that's how food works. That's how drugs work.
Yeah, well, the bird flu. Remember when they were talking about the bird flu and we needed to get ahead of the vaccines? That was when Joe Biden was occupying the White House. They constantly kept pushing that out there. And they gave these massive agreements to all these big pharmaceutical companies. And they were all pharmaceutical companies that align with their political views, of course, and who have worked with them in the past. But there was no reason to invest all of this money into this technology to develop the bird flu vaccines because there wasn't a single human case of it. Now they say, we're trying to get ahead of it before it becomes a thing. But that's what they said about COVID. I mean, COVID started in a lab because they were trying to get ahead of something that wasn't existing.
Before we release it and it becomes a thing.
Yeah. And you're like, And the worst part too is they're injecting this into our food. I mean, pigs right now are being injected with the mRNA vaccines and then we're ingesting it. And there's people out there, a lot of experts who say that it's safe for us to consume the food. But then there's also others who are saying, no, this actually transfers over to humans. And so we should probably sit back and wait before we start doing this widespread, but they're still going ahead with this.
Yeah, I mean, I would love for them to look into as well with mRNA. Listen, I'm on board with the fact that it does more harm than good, that the risks outweigh the benefits, and that, you could be looking at potential mutations and stuff like that. I'd like to believe, since it's led by RFK, I hope that they are also looking into that with just standard typical vaccines, because if you look at vaccines, like there's a Hib vaccine that they give children, that it used to be, I don't remember the number, but it moved from like Hib 7 to like Hib 10 because there were new mutations. There were new strains that popped up after they developed the first vaccine, because of course that's what viruses do. They look for how can I survive? How can I adapt to survive? And so that's when you end up seeing new strains and new mutations. And I don't think that is specific to mRNA from all of the research that I've done on vaccines in general. So my hope is that they look at that for these other vaccines as well, because from the research that I have done, just mom, right? Like just random Texas mom here doing all the research that I can. But even just in the research that I've done, I have seen that those mutations are not specific to mRNA.
Yeah. What I could not escape the thought in my mind when we were watching him talk about that was how not too long ago, if someone said the exact same things he said, they'd immediately be deplatformed.
Oh, we got deplatformed.
Possibly charged with something.
Yeah.
I mean, it just absolutely insane. And now, I mean, we are basically having the conversation that the hippies, the old school like 60s liberals used to have. Yeah. They were of this same mindset. I was talking with Glenn on radio this morning about how Howard Stern is now, no more contract for him. And he used to be the guy that he was like, I remember listening to him, and I also, in the same vein that I listened to punk rock music, it was like, not really sure if I liked it, but it was something different, and it was very anti-establishment.
Yeah.
We are now kind of anti-establishment, even though we are in power politically now, but we're still anti-establishment. Talking about, pushing back against big pharma, big food, all these. We are the anti-establishment, and it just feels freaking weird.
It is.
How the roles have reversed.
It is.
Will it ever switch back over? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think everyone's learned a very valuable lesson not to trust the government.
Yeah.
And I think that's what's really kind of flipped people over to this new side of things, because the left is all in. I mean, they just like, give me more government. I mean, they love it.
Worse.
They're getting so much worse. I mean, it's actually embarrassing, because they used to be kind of the pushback, but they're not anymore. They comply and they don't ask any questions. You know, what RFK just said, it was very well detailed. And normally, I mean, I know a lot of people push back, but I mean, how do you push back on that? I mean, what he's saying is factually true. I don't have a problem with any of this.
And that's why I answered Jason's question the way that I did. That is why I think he's doing it the right way, because he is actually going through the trials. He's going through the scientific way. He's not just saying like, yeah, no, and all. I actually wrote a book a while back that says that these vaccines suck, so I'm taking them off the market. Like he is letting. Trust the science, right? That's what they keep telling us. Trust the science, trust the experts. He's letting his experts go in there and they're looking at it and they're bringing him back data. And then he can then use his data and go, listen, this is the reason why. It's a perfectly sound scientific reason why we are making the decision that we're making, so that I think he doesn't get the blowback and he doesn't get accused of just being like some crazy weirdo conspiracy theorist who's coming in there and trying to make Americans die.
Yeah, but even when he does present the science, like with the autism statistics, and then there's other scientists who are like, well, actually, now we just test a lot better. Really? You test that much better? There's 8 gazillion more cases just off of the testing better on it?
Right,
It's such bullcrap.
I know.
And then those same guys that are doing the pushback, you'll also find them in the back of a magazine or on MSNBC doing a advertisement for, I approve this new vaccine for whatever. It is so infuriating.
I know.
Just trust the scientists and the science. Have we not learned by now? No.
Well, Fauci told us he was the science. Remember that?
Can't question him.
Yeah, you if you're questioning him, you're actually questioning science, because he is the science.
Is he the guy that has a pardon now, just in case?
That's him.
Hey, that guy.
That would be him.
Well, it was signed by AutoPen.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true. It's true.
Questionable.
Right.
We'll get there shortly.
God, wouldn't that be? I mean, I would pay an obscene amount of money to be able to see like a military tribunal of Anthony Fauci.
Maybe like what they did to Roger Stone, right? Where they had like CNN right there ready to go and they raided his home.
Yeah.
Maybe we get that access for the Blaze.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And it would have to be
gosh.
like me and Steve Deace.
Oh, that'd be great.
We were the ones who were on it the entire time that it was happening. And everyone else was like, I don't know. The vaccine's probably fine. We'll take it. And we were like, God, please don't do it. I got you talked about getting deplatformed. I got the whole Blaze YouTube demonetized for like a month, simply because I read, this was a scientific study, trust the science, a scientific study on pregnant women who had taken the vaccine and had then had some sort of a miscarriage, like spontaneous miscarriage, and something had happened to the baby. And I literally just sat here, over there, and read the data. And they posted it, and it got the Blaze, the entire account, demonetized for an entire month because I did that.
Telling the truth will be an act of revolution, straight up, and we lived through it.
What's so funny is when people try to say people like RFK or people like myself or Peter McCullough or any of the people who spoke out during COVID, they accuse us of doing it for money. And I'm like, boy,
Yeah.
You think there's money in that? I've got a bridge to sell you. There is absolutely no money in telling the truth.
I literally lost my job over this.
Yeah, you know better than anyone.
No money involved in this, unless you were, of course, getting paid off by HHS, which a number of the big outlets were at the time. But anyone else who spoke out against it was nuked on the airwaves, or you lost your job. And HR
Which
told you
remind
back up.
people who you worked for.
Oh, it's a company you probably haven't heard of them, called Fox Corp, Fox Business, Fox News, minor company. They took a bunch of money from HHS thanks to the great work over at the Blaze, who uncovered all of this through a great FOIA request. And Fox News, we don't know the dollar amounts because they still want to redact that information, but we know that they did take the money. And little old me was sent to New York City, and they told me that if I don't take the vaccine, I'm getting put on unpaid leave. And they cited an illegal New York City private sector vaccine mandate, which is already ruled illegal by the Supreme Court. So no big deal.
I mean, I genuinely, like, I consider us so blessed to have worked for an organization where, like, from day one, they were like, yeah, we're not going to force anyone to do anything.
Yeah.
They weren't like, Paul, please put a mask on when you enter the building. In fact, I can't. Now, you guys weren't here, so you wouldn't know because you guys
here.
were you were here every once in a while.
I was here every Wednesday.
Every Wednesday. Jason, that's why Jason, it's Wednesday today. You want to know why Jason started coming on every Wednesday? Because it was the only day that he was here during COVID.
Yep.
Because it was the day that Glenn taped his TV show. And so that was the day that Jason would be in studios. We're like, yeah, you should come in and be on the show on Wednesdays. But I mean, I really was like, I thought, God, I couldn't even imagine like working for an organization like you're talking about, anyone that's just like, no, you have to wear a mask when you enter the building, or like you have to get a vaccine. I would have just quit.
Oh, HR literally in writing asked me for my vaccination information. I wouldn't give it to them, and then I got an email from Suzanne Scott saying that it's now required and you have to give up your vaccination status information. And when I told HR that, I felt very uncomfortable about it. In writing, they told me that this is just due to the fact that I'm coming back to the office very, very soon, and they just need to know where to put me. So ultimately, Fox was looking to split up the unvaccinated and vaccinated, and put us, which actually works well for me now that we've seen this moving forward, because I don't want them to shed on me. So it would have been actually great to separate all of us. But,
Please separate us.
They're like, you need to wear a face mask too when you're in the office, and I'm like, oh yes, please, that's what you need to do. Just separate me, you might as well just put me in a bubble,
right?
Just walk around the office,
right?
Point.
Right.
Yeah, it was really bad.
That's nuts.
That's your conservative media outlets.
Exactly.
Wink, wink.
Which just goes to what I was talking about the other day with Fox News and the whole. Well, you wouldn't believe that the N-word was said during this confrontation in Cincinnati, but we're not actually going to let you hear it. Just take our word for it. It's like, just be careful who you trust here in conservative media. So speaking of Fauci and COVID, I want to remind you guys, if you have not yet seen The Coverup, this is one of our latest docuseries. Make sure to go to FauciCoverup.com/Sarah. They've got episode 5 that is out right now. And, yes, it may make your blood boil. But again, truth is important. And you're going to want to go see this. FauciCoverup.com/Sarah. So speaking of COVID, kind of dovetailing from that, it feels a little bit like deja vu because China is now back in lockdowns because there is a virus spreading. They said China unleashes virus crackdown from the Daily Mail as power is cut off, patients locked up, and fines issued to combat new outbreak. Now, I know, I read that and I'm like, oh, hell no, this is not happening again. There's no freaking way this is happening again. So here's what this is. This is, by the way, they've implemented COVID-era safety measures. And this is a mosquito-borne virus called chikungunya.
I was waiting. That was
Did
good.
you like that?
That was
Did
good.
you like that?
Yeah, solid.
Chikungunya virus. And despite all of their protocols, this continues to spread. Jason's laughing at me.
Yeah. I mean, it sounded like Kung Pao chicken. That's what I was thinking.
Might as well be, honestly.
It sounds like a dish I've had at one
It's
point.
that China virus. It's another China virus. What did we call it? Kung flu.
That's right.
I'm told that was offensive. I thought it was funny.
That's why you say it.
It's exactly why you say it and why it's funny as well. So they've got over 10,000 cases in total throughout China, and they're using drones for sterilization.
They did that for COVID.
Yeah.
Wow. Wait, so is this like upper respiratory type thing again?
So, okay. So let me go through it. So, they're sending infected people to quarantine wards. They're putting, mosquito nets over hospital beds because this is, again, mosquito borne. They have to remain in quarantine for a week, and people are being fined up to $1,400 for failing to comply with the restrictions. At least 5 households in China have had their electricity cut off because they didn't cooperate with the door-to-door inspections. And now the CDC is issuing a level 2 travel notice for people going to China to practice enhanced precautions. But there's a reason that it's only level 2. To your point, Jason, the virus doesn't even spread person to person. Let me just go ahead and say that again. It doesn't spread from person to person. So please explain to me, G, can I call you G? Why are you quarantining people and keeping them separate? If it doesn't spread from person to person, it can only be spread by mosquitoes. anyone?
Why not? I mean, if you're a communist leader, you might as well just lock these people up and let them be miserable by themselves and totally isolate them. I mean, they allow it. You know, I understand why if you live in China, you don't really push back against your government because they're a little bit worse than what we saw that happened to J6ers and whatnot. But obviously, you definitely should be pushing back on this and not allow this to take place. But it just so happens that these mosquitoes are going around biting people, and that's how it's being spread. Well, we probably should.
And that's never happened before. These mosquitoes.
Yeah, they're biting
When did
people
they start
now.
biting people?
Isn't that crazy?
Well, that just started happening too.
Escalating.
Remember that story about the mosquitoes that are like spying on you, and there was like a whole story about how like these are like there's a bunch of mosquitoes now. Probably I don't know. Maybe I just saw it with I was wearing my aluminum foil hat, but that these mosquitoes are actually CCP Russia's mosquitoes going around. They could actually record you. So maybe that's what they all are.
Like drones?
Yeah, maybe.
That's kind of cool.
I saw it. Really
Cool. I don't want it to be cool, but it is really cool.
I saw it on the internet, so it has to be true.
It has to be. It must be true.
Well, I'm still curious. What does it do to you? Does it say what it does to you?
Makes you sick.
Makes
Like
you
coughing and all that stuff, or is
Look
like
it up.
I'm kind of assuming.
I don't think I saw any fatalities either.
Yeah, well, so it's actually been declining for the last 10 years. It's been cases of the virus have been decreasing in the United States since 2014. No, this is the United States, obviously, not China. But 2,799 cases in 2014, 154 cases in 2023. And it says despite the drop in cases over the past 10 years, while it was decreasing, they were developing vaccines.
Interesting.
Isn't that so crazy?
Yeah.
And so now that we have, so it's fever, joint pain, headache, muscle pain, joint swelling, and a rash.
The flu.
that actually
Or a rough night out.
it sounds like turning 40. Actually, that's what it sounds like.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
I wake up with that every morning.
Yeah.
Lock my ass.
You
down.
have the chikungunya virus.
The Kung Pao Chicken old man virus.
Do you think Anthony Fauci watches these stories and just drools?
Aha.
He's like, oh man, I
We're
hope
back,
it's
baby.
here."
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So back.
We're so
So doesn't it make you wonder, why did they even go, you know what we should develop a vaccine for? This thing. The cases are on the decline. It's not deadly. Doesn't it make you wonder, while it was declining, why they thought we're going to do it for this? And now all of a sudden, we're hearing that there are 2 chikungunya virus vaccines that have received regulatory approval in several countries and or have been recommended for use in populations at risk. Yes. But the vaccines are not yet widely available nor in widespread use. And then they said severe symptoms and deaths are rare and usually occur in young babies or elderly people with other coexisting health problems. So again, why do we need a vaccine in the first place for an illness that is declining? It's on the decline. It's not deadly. It's very rare. Why is that a thing that we are even doing? That these that the Pfizers and the Modernas of the world are like, yes, we're going to invest money in that vaccine. Doesn't it make you wonder?
They create the
that's
problem
right.
and they create the fix.
That's right. Yep, exactly right. Yeah. Isn't it? That's honestly, that's a pretty solid business model if you're evil.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Like you're like, I know, we'll create the problem and then we'll create the solution. And how could we possibly go wrong? That's a cash cow. Like that's really good if you have no soul.
You got to say, bah.
What is it? $10 million.
It's also I get why China does this too. They know that this is not a threat to the country. They know that this is not something that's going to spread because
They just want a
can't
reason
spread.
to lock up their people.
Right. And it's a social experiment. That's what it was for us as well. It's a giant social experiment. They know they can lock their people down. They learned how far they can push them. And then every once in a while in China, they're just going to continue to remind them. I don't think they can do that here anymore because every single one of us will revolt against them. But we get.
I know we will. I know. I'm not. Listen, if I'm going down, I'm going down in a blaze of glory.
You almost made me say a harsh curse word. I almost did that, but this is unfiltered.
Jason.
But, right.
Read the mug.
I know.
Read the mug.
But I freaking hope so. If we don't this time, holy crap.
It's like we would get what? It's like, all right, then I guess we get the country we deserve.
Get what you deserve.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just that I still see people wearing the masks
all the time.
And Alex, our colleague Alex Stein we were talking about during break when he crashed the NBC News live feed at the Texas Capitol, which was hilarious. But he was actually there to testify against the trans people being in the bathrooms. And I noticed in all of that they were sending me pictures, and I was just like, the crazy libs are still wearing the freaking masks. They're all still masked up. And so I'm like, I don't know how many people would be like, yes, of course, we've got to do it 2 weeks to slow the spread.
I like it, though. I like that they wear masks. I just know who to avoid in public.
That's true.
Like, those are the people, they're a little off. So you just want to, quickly go around them, not talk to them, don't communicate with them. And then it's great for ugly people.
That is, honestly, it does give them a leg up.
It does.
I'm a little jealous. There are some days where I'm just like, I feel ugly. I want to wear a mask. I can't bring myself to.
Yeah.
Imagine, you just be like, I just cover half my face and no one will know I'm ugly.
I only wore a
And
mask.
stupid. Oh, wait. Yes, they will, because you're wearing one.
The only time I wore a mask was in an airport. And the one thing I found out that I loved about wearing the mask is you could say F you to every single person you walked by. It didn't matter, It's
They couldn't hear you, and they couldn't see you.
F him, F you, It's like, that was the one thing. But
I honestly, and did you wear it at the airport? Did you wait for someone to tell you, or you just didn't want to get on the no-fly list?
At first I wore it. The first time I flew, I just wore it because I didn't want to get kicked off. The second time I made them have me do it.
Hold on, Stephen. Would
Yes?
you please just tell the class what you just said in my ear?
Which thing? I don't even remember what it was. Did it talk about your mask?
No. You just said in reference to the airport, they required it.
Yeah, didn't you? At the very beginning.
No shit. Who cares? Did you ever see me do it?
Yes, you did. You wore it with the most ridiculous.
What did I do?
Glittered mask that it had just giant holes in it.
Giant
it was
holes.
So ridiculous.
Yes. I was like, who cares if they require it? I don't care that there's a sign on the damn door. I'm going in with this stupid ass mask that very clearly it had rhinestones and there were holes all over it. It was very clearly not a mask that worked. And I honestly, during that time, the only thing that really drives me nuts is I was begging for someone to confront me on it. And I never got that. And I don't know if it's the resting bitch face or what, but I just really wanted the confrontation.
Same.
I was waiting for it every time. I never wore a mask, and every time, and I'm just like, please, God, come up to me, and nobody did.
I know.
Isn't that sad?
It really was.
Yeah, well, I'll make it quick, but at Fox, we actually had to get into the building. You actually had to flash up this app which said that if you were unvaccinated, that you've been tested and you tested negative. And so it was green.
Oh my God.
So I actually had my colleagues just screenshot theirs and send it to me, so I never got tested.
Shut up.
Yeah, I know.
That's really smart.
I know. Thought of it myself.
That is, but how sad is that?
Yeah, conservative.
Hold on. Go ahead.
It's required.
Conservative with air quotes.
Oh, I love
That's nuts. Well, I'd like to believe, Jason, that we're not going to listen. It would be even more embarrassing for us to go down in a blaze of glory over a virus called Kung Pao chicken virus. So please don't do that, America. Let's not. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. So here in the state of Texas, we are, of course, dealing with this redistricting battle where the Democrats conveniently are trying to use the slogan "come and take it" while fleeing the state, which is they're not coming and staying. They're just leaving and being cowards. And so you've had J.B. Pritzker enter the battle. You've had Gavin Newsom enter the battle, Hakeem Jeffries. This is a nationwide story because these Texas Democrats are breaking quorum specifically intentionally so that the state of Texas cannot conduct business and get these redistricting maps passed. And we have Ken Paxton's office that's come out and said that they are going to, if they are not back by Friday, they are going to sue to get them to vacate their seats. Mm-hmm. Is that the latest, Breanna?
Yeah, to vacate their seats and potential arrest will come, hopefully.
Dude,
They're going to do it though, but it would be nice.
These are the types of things I fantasize about. I don't know what that says about me, but I want to play even Stephen Colbert. It's bad when even Stephen Colbert is giving you a hard time about the hypocrisy when you're someone like Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and you're talking about other people gerrymandering. Watch.
If you're considering doing a little more redrawing in Illinois, you already have some crazy districts in Illinois. Take a look at this. Look at 17 here. It does that.
then it comes up here and it sneaks around there and goes all the way up here and then goes right over there like that. And look at this one, kind of goes whoop up there. It's like the stinger on a scorpion down here. Is this common for all states to do?
Well, we handed it over to a kindergarten class and let them decide.
Okay, that's the nonpartisan group that does this
Absolutely.
For you guys?
That's our independent commission, you know. That is, I mean, look.
So because all states, to a certain extent, do this, why is what Texas doing particularly egregious in this case?
Well, here, every 10 years we do a census in this country, and right after the census, we redraw districts in every state. But what the Republicans are trying to do, and the Texas Republicans, frankly, at the behest of Donald Trump, are doing it mid-decade. That is extraordinarily rare.
That's an important point, because I think he literally called them or wrote them and said, hey, I need 5 seats. Go redraw this.
And the way they're doing it is taking voting rights away from black and brown people. They're literally
that was actually in the bill.
obliterating
You voted for that.
It was written in invisible ink, so you couldn't actually see it, but take his word for it. It was there. That's what we want to do here in the state of Texas. Just take away voting rights from black and brown people. There was actually, if you guys go back and watch my Come and Take It episode, which you can find on Sara Gonzales Unfiltered YouTube channel, just go look at the playlist. My episode from this week, I actually played, there was a clip of a representative here in the state of Texas who is a black Democrat. And she said, the way that you have redrawn these maps, well, then these are going to be filled by Republicans, not blacks.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, what? And our friend Representative Katrina Pearson was like, I would just like to point out that you can be Republican and black.
No, you can't.
Like, you can be Republican and still be black. Like, that exists. I mean, it's just like crazy to me. The lack of self-awareness with these people. Mm-hmm. It's insane.
It's pretty amazing, Sarah, because I was watching this one official from Plano, she's a Democrat, go out and speak when she was sitting there with New York Governor Kathy Hochul. And she was pretty much saying, she was trying to use the slogan, the Texas slogan. She said, come and get it, not come and take it.
Shut up.
Yeah, it was great. I loved every second of it. But these people really are just the dumbest, lowest IQ human beings you could ever have represent you, which is sad, and they shouldn't be representing them, but they are. What they don't understand is that Democrats have been counting non-U.S. citizens on our census for quite some time now. So it is time for Republicans to get up and fight back, and I welcome this fully.
Yeah, I agree. Jason, take us home.
I like how he just mentioned the timing of this. So apparently you can only find out after a census, and then the timing somehow like makes it okay to where you can dilute the voting power or base in certain areas. Mm-hmm. It's just all about timing. Mm-hmm. So you can do that. It's just all about timing. Never mind the fact that we've had millions of people come in after 2020, so after the census he's talking about, come into this state. So ours is completely screwed up. Yeah. Dang it, I had so much more to say about this, and now we're running out of here. The music, I'm pissed.
Thank you, guys.